Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory the genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing the kaiju film, The Lake. The Lake. The lake's not the monster, but you can guess what's in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
All right, with me this week, that was stupid. With me this week are my co-hosts, Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing?
I'm great.
Absolutely.
How are you?
I am fine. And you?
God, that is like the most. Oh God, I want to say it, but I don't want to say it. I was like, sometimes you could really just tell that
You
I'm
really miss
special.
following Jeff, right? You got to follow Jeff. All right.
Yeah.
Also joining this week is the award-winning filmmaker,
Christopher G. Mohr.
Hold on. I gotta put my cigarette on the crime scene.
It was funny. Come on.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Let's all-
survived this film, and that's a plus.
Let's all step out in the rain, shall we?
That's in slow motion. Several times in slow motion.
Yes,
like
we
half
have.
the movie.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot to say about this movie. All right. What we're going to be doing is we're going to review it, and we're going to start off giving you our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler-free, and then we'll dive into a discussion. We will get into spoilers. There's a few to be had, and then we'll wrap things up with a score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And we hope that you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. If you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend button. It's easy and free to do, and every click counts and helps us find more horror film lovers, horror-loving films. No, horror fans.
Ooh.
Horror fans, just like you. Yes, I say that's what it is. All right. Let's move on, shall we? Let's look at the card. All right. The Lake, available now on VOD and available on Blu-ray May 16th, 2023. Synopsis: one child brought back a strange egg until realized, this is weird English, that it was a monster egg. It emerged from the lake.
Wow. I was definitely translated from the original language.
Oh, no. Kill everyone in the whole town.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just going to end it right there. All right, so let's find out what we thought of. Well,
That was the best decision you've made all
Yeah, that was
year.
just going downhill. That was gonna be you were gonna massacre more names than the people in this film.
I wish
it was going to be a bigger massacre than the film,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, the director's Lee Tongcam. I can do that and a Quinn Zoo, but that's not
dear.
right. But we're going to leave it there. Let's find out what our first impressions were. Oh my! And start off with Crystal Cleveland. What was your first impression of The Lake?
Okay, so this is a kaiju film, and let's just put it this way. I think I have to preface this by saying I've seen a lot of kaiju films and a lot of really super duper bad kaiju films, like the ones where Godzilla looks like a little plastic figure, walking over the cities. I liked this film. I liked it. I had fun with it. I actually, when the opening scene, when you see the creature, I was like, awesome. The story is not the best, and the characters are kind of laughable at points. Like, you don't really feel for them, even though some really sad things happen to them, which is, it's crazy. Like, they went to, darker places with this and with some stuff. But I just enjoyed the monster and the monster attacking and laughing at the police officers, because I just found it funny. I don't think I was looking at this movie with any sort of super critical lens. So I have to say that, because I did really just enjoy it. And I know that there was some weird things that happened with the creature and the story and stuff, and I just rolled with it, and I had a good time. I don't usually expect much when I know something's a kaiju film. So the fact that the creature was far better than I anticipated made it a lot better. So for me, it was fun and entertaining.
Fun and entertaining. I like that. Christopher G. Mohr, sir, what was your first impression of The Lake?
The monster is the only positive part. And that's only in parts. If it's the big practical creature, yeah, there's I mean, stuff that they don't do anymore. They haven't done since Jurassic Park, but there's scenes in this watching these like Jurassic Park did it better. This film,
of course it did.
This film makes the Bourne Identity feel like it was on a stabilizer. There's
it was
so much,
a lot,
so much. I mean, not even like this is like somebody having a seizure holding the camera bad. Throughout much of it, and then there's parts where they throw on like what I call monster vision
monster vision
this weird like stuff that you see in like animated like Japanese anime movies, you know, where like where the edge of the screen and stuff, and they keep doing it, and it feels like 90s action films, but it like those ripoffs of the movies that were good, and they try to make a really crappy version. In fact, this is almost like some of the bad Asian action films. And I mean, this has it has elements of John Woo and Michael Bay, but people trying to emulate that and doing it very badly. This is one of the worst edited films I've seen in a very long time.
Wow.
They don't know how to add action. They don't know how to edit around that. I mean, and you have these big practical creatures that yeah, if it's like a stationary shot where they're moving and stuff, but once they try to edit around action of people being attacked by creatures, horrible editing, really horrible editing. It hurt my eyes and it hurt my soul as a filmmaker and an editor. The story is just, I mean, I guess if you're looking at most kaiju stories, but again, it has those elements that you see in Michael Bay, like, oh, I'm the detective and I don't have a good connection with my daughter. But then it's definitely not an American action film because people die you don't expect to die. Yeah. I mean, there's so many elements of this that are just ridiculous because you have, if this took place in the 90s, maybe I'd be more acceptable of people just smoking on crime scenes and not putting plastic gloves at certain points and just touching bodies and stuff. Yeah. And then there's this there's just ridiculous stuff that happens and character moments that don't make a lot of sense. And, you know, you can see all the different things it was influenced by, but evidently it went one ear out the other as to how to be able to pull it off and make it look good. This is to me, this is one of the biggest disappointments I've seen in a very long time because I was really looking forward to this because everybody was talking about, this is the first time they've done like all these big practical creatures. And I think the design of the creature's cool. But then I felt like there's a lot of CGI versions of it as well. That kind of, but then there's like the smaller version of it. It just like somebody, it was like, I call it the Predator. It was like, it was like, it made Godzilla's movies look more animatronic. I hate talking so badly about it, but this film is frustrating to watch. It really felt like it was thrown together. There's shots, even editing wise, there's shots that don't correspond with what's happening because the whole point of editing is to imply certain parts of action or to amp up certain parts or even conversations parts. You can see it's different takes where people don't even correspond correctly. So I think by the end, I just saw all these editing mistakes and stupid things that people do. And yeah, a lot of times, you know, Asian cinema, a lot of it is very dramatic. You know, there's a lot of slow motion, people like looking at each other very fondly for like 10 minutes. And you kind of expect that, but overall, this movie was a chore to get through because you had all these elements, these wonderful practical creature elements, and they shot in a way which just kind of like they just pissed all over it in how they shot it and directed it, and it, you know, and even the characters I didn't care about because you just had all these random characters that really didn't I'm not even sure what characters were. I'm not even sure what those two people were that were like, I guess they were scientists or.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, which people? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. They're just
they
like
were very, very small supporting characters, but they show
yeah,
up.
yeah. But it's like they're just there so they could point out an obvious thing that like, oh, I wonder what this creature's coming after. Everybody's just an idiot. And like, yeah, let's just anyway, I'm gonna stop. This is supposed to be a first impression, and I've made this a thesis. So anyway.
No.
I made it a thesis. There's a shirt. I had I mean, I recognize what Christopher's saying, and I don't discount it, but I had a totally different reaction to it. To me, I enjoyed this. It's silly at times, and it's disjointed. It feels like there's like three storylines, and sometimes they gel, sometimes they don't, and sometimes it feels like it was shot very haphazardly, but other times it was shot like really well. And sometimes when you go from one shot with one set of characters that's a little under par, and then you go back to the other character, like the cop character, they paid much more attention to the cop character. So his shots were really well lit, and you know, and cinematography. The other ones were, you know, little. So it felt really weird in that respect, but I kind of loved it at some point. And it was like, it felt so very 90s, and it felt, hello, it felt like a Godzilla
God agrees.
movie. It felt like a Godzilla movie, like the 90s Godzilla movie, not any Godzilla movie, but precisely the Roland Emmerich, and the other, what's the other guy's name? But anyway, their Godzilla movie. But in some ways it had more life to it. It was interesting. I had a ball with this and enjoyed it. I questioned the competency of some of the storytelling, but at the same time, I dug the creature, I dug the design. I laughed at it at times when it stood up as like a man. That was weird. And yeah, when there's a big creature, and there's we're a little small spoilers, big creature and a small creature. But the big creature, when it's practical and it looks great, but then when it has to like move and run away, it's CGI, and it's kind of like obviously not the same creature. But that, you know, hey, that happens. I can forgive stuff like that, but
it was colder in the water.
Yeah, there you go. In the end, I kind of had a blast with it. It's kind of a bonkers, dorky little film, but I don't know. It hit. I don't know. It registered. It hit some kind of something. I was looking forward to it as well, Christopher, but it satisfied me. I found I enjoyed it.
Good. I did see that it had co-directors, so
yes,
that might be because I literally. Like you said, I want to say like a lot of my issues are with the editing and stuff like that, but there were certain shots that were shot well and lit well, you know, using like the reflection of like the police lights and stuff. But then there'd be a shot where like I'll be running, and then you could see they just threw a filter on it and they put fake rain over top of it.
Yep.
And it just looked really like they like, oh, we shot this at night and we have to bump it up, and it looks. It rainy.
It felt like they edited in a lot of like second unit into the main unit.
Yeah.
Like especially during the attacks, like you'd have this really cool monster attack coming down the street, and then you'd have people flying over trees, and it didn't even look like it was in the same place. And I think
no,
what you're talking
the
about.
frenetic stuff. But then like I think the stuff that worked better is when they had the big ass monster.
Yes,
because there's like one where the big ass monster's in the back, and you could see like the scale of it, and he's looking at it, and then the whole time I'm like, no, I don't think this is a CGI.
Like one time he stares it down right in the face.
Yeah, and those kind of like I kind of missed that stuff that they did in the original Jurassic Park, you know, and I give them kudos for that. But then it's like you have all these in betweens that don't work so well, and I think the middle monster, I feel like they did more CGI stuff with that. Oh, I guess the big monster too, if there's like overhead stuff. But
when he had to run off, they did for sure.
Yeah, but the stuff with the monster was like attacking people in the cars and stuff, and you see the head coming and stuff. That felt very like Jurassic Park kids in the car, like, oh, the eyes looking at me. But then there's a scene where she's like, the girl's like, I was like, is this girl dumb? She's just like,
I know it's right beside it.
Let me look. Let me
yeah,
look at the other
that
window.
was
And this
weird.
monster's like, you don't. There's a. I don't know. I think I was like, this. I was like, you deserve to be eaten.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. But
And then
it's
guess
like,
what? Mm-hmm.
but then it's like there's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful even though I hate the cheesy dynamics between like I'm the detective. It's not a good dad, you know. But there's a scene where he's in the front seat and she's in the back seat, and they have them framed within the rearview mirror and stuff.
Yes,
It's beautiful. That's shot
Yeah.
really beautifully, and that kind of stuff. And I think that's why also it just like the quality is like it's like juggling all over the place.
Yeah.
It's
you know
like
what
the
it
different
feels
size
like?
of the monsters. The quality goes up and down throughout.
You know what it feels like, Christopher? You know, because we've been to a lot of independent horror film festivals,
Yeah.
and a lot of times they'll get filmed over like 5 years,
Yeah.
and you can
I know
really
where you're
tell.
going. I
Yeah.
know where you're going.
And it kind of feels like
I'm not
that.
gonna say anybody, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But it kind of feels like that, doesn't it? Where it feels like some of these shots might have been like,
Oh.
You can tell that,
Ouch.
and that's always the thing you run into it, and you sometimes you even see that in like bigger budget films where they try to they try to put all kinds of special effects and try to fix it, but you can sort of tell it's off, and yeah, this is throughout, and I think on top of that, it was just like, and granted, you know, back in the 90s, a lot of action stuff, even stuff that even people like Michelle Yeoh and other people in, there's a lot of that crazy, you know, where they move the camera really quick and there's all that, but there's so much of it. It's so frenetic that you kind of lose focus. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Like when they're in that
Yeah.
field or whatever, it's like, I have no idea where they
the
are,
creature
what's
was,
happening, you know, and then they're
suddenly
like,
he gets hit. And...
yeah. And then later on, there's like the little girl character just disappears. And shows up
Oh, I
somewhere
know.
else.
That was
They don't even
weird.
explain that.
And then she just comes back. Like,
Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like I feel like there may be
saw
some
that
stuff.
coming, but yeah.
I'm
Well,
I'm
you
glad
know
she
that was gonna
did,
happen,
but
again, there was like no, like she just a monster
Yeah.
attacks and she just disappears.
Yeah, they kind of try to explain it in between, where the guy's seeing the visions, and he's, you know, he sees the monster walking past her, and she's hiding in the.
Although I'd
weeds.
almost like, I give them kudos if they killed that kid in the very
oh my god, I know.
because
Well,
American film wouldn't do that. I
They
was
do
like,
make
man,
up for that. They do make up for that later.
They do, but I was like, well, sort of, but like the little kid, I was like, man, if that monster ate that little kid in the very opening, kudos, because that's some balls right there. And I was like, ah.
So see, I didn't care enough about the story, I guess, because I just enjoyed it. Like, I liked it. I think that people will like this, but there's a lot wrong. I get it.
I have a question for you, Crystal. You know, because we've kind of complained about the characters, right? You know, what is this character? What's that character? Why are we? So, you know, we're not invested. Why would we be? How much of that is lost in translation? Because this is, you know, made in Thailand. So are those characters like?
Well, I will tell you that there was some
cinematic
translations. Yeah, there were some translations. Did you read some of that? And you're like, that's even whoever did the subtitles, I don't think knew. Yes, some of them weren't. I mean, you could kind of gather what it was, and I was like, oh, that's so. Yeah, it's entirely possible that we missed a lot of the subtext because of that. I mean, because that conversation with the dad and his daughter just seemed so serious. And granted, yes, what was put on the screen was kind of serious, but surely there was more. I hate that there's no resolution to that too.
Yeah, they kind of cheated that.
Because she did not explain what she meant by "you're never going to change." What does that even mean? What exactly was she talking about?
Right.
I would like to have had some more.
Yeah, I feel like
they already had overindulgence of dialogue that. Excessive dialogue for no reason. There's several parts. There's like if somebody writes script, there's like several parts like can I ask you a question? They did that like several times throughout the movie. It's like, can I ask you? Just say it. What do you? Yeah. That's extra dialogue for no reason. Just say what you want to say.
But that might be the anyway.
And it might be translation.
Might be cultural.
At the same time, you can take all the dialogue out, and there's still scenes where like, what are they doing? They're just being. This is like a soap opera at times. But again. Exactly. That's also a different translation because, you know, like a lot of the, I think this is like a Thailand production, I think, but
Mhm.
but like Korean, a lot of the Korean dramas are all about the overly dramatic, melodramatic type stuff, and there is this, but then it's like, but there's moments I feel like they're trying to ape Hollywood stuff.
Oh, they're definitely
That's why I
trying to.
think
The
that a
90s
lot,
and all this
yeah,
stuff.
for
So
sure.
there's that culture clash of just that it's like I don't feel enough for these characters to even care what's happening.
Yeah, I feel like I was mentioning earlier, I feel like it's the cinematic shorthand. Like it means something in Thailand, but we're going to miss it here in the States.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that happens in reverse too. I'm sure we use a lot of shorthand in a lot of our films that, doesn't translate well, and they just kind of scratch their heads. But so I think a lot of that, like some of the characters and what they were doing, and even why they were out in the field in the first place, and all that stuff is kind of lost on us. And then the relationship between the cop and the daughter might be like a staple, right? That whole thing, and it doesn't need to be explained, but we miss it.
But at the same time, you can't explain away like, oh, this guy's connected to this monster, but this monster's killed like half of the village.
And why didn't he just kill him to do it?
Don't kill my brother.
Well, they needed him. He was plot armor. They had to save him.
I kept thinking there. I have to admit, all I kept thinking there was, I'd kill him. Because if that would kill the creature, I was like, if that would kill the creature, if I kill him, does it kill the creature? Because that just makes it easier.
And they didn't even like talk about resolution. That's like we didn't even get to see what happened.
Well, yeah,
Where the guy went.
Yeah, we get to see.
Oh, actually, that looked very Indiana Jones type. I kind of liked that too. See, I must have been in a good mood.
I was in a good mood.
Yeah, I must have been in a good mood.
I wanted to be in a a mood, but this movie just
I might have had some
sucked all the life out of you.
It's like, or maybe one day I'll make a monster creature thing, and people can like,
Yeah.
What did you do, Chris?
I'm certainly eager to find out what other fans of the show think of the movie when they get to see it. So please leave us comments down.
I will say it is worth seeing, like just the big creature stuff. I mean, I give them kudos for doing like a huge creature, practical creature. So it's worth seeing for that. But just know you have to muddle through a lot of mud to get to that.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not a Toho has a particular signature with their kaiju films, their Godzilla films and whatnot, and and other films similar to that. But this is definitely more Hollywoodized, to make up a term. It's more more Western than usual. So I don't know. I'm going to have a hard time not recommending it because I think it's worth a watch.
Me too. I know. And I think,
there you go.
I know what Christopher's saying isn't wrong, but I also know that I just kind of, because I do remember at a couple points I was like, oh, there's a lot of handheld, huh? That's something.
And normally, I mean, and believe me, I watch a lot of films that probably aren't shot great or they're cheesy. I mean, I like a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme films, and a lot of those aren't shot really well, but I enjoy it because there's an enjoyable quality of it. But to me, I didn't really find anything enjoyable to really get me through a lot of the bad filmmaking and bad choices editing wise.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice them. Like there was a shot with the police officer and his daughter. That was one thing, and then you go to the other police officer's buddy cop that was in the next seat, and it looked like it was filmed entirely different. It didn't even look like it was the same scene, but it was all stitched together. And that it was like, that's weird.
Yeah, there's the one guy where they're in that crime scene and the other guy's smoking, and it cuts to this over the shoulder, and he's not, and he cuts back, and it's like, what?
There's some gas. There's definitely but to me, it was part of the charm of it.
I know. That's
to me, it added to it, not subtracted. So go figure.
We're broken.
Yeah,
clearly.
Well, we're not. I'm not a filmmaker. I just absorb it all. So.
I was uncharmed. I was disencharmed by it.
Yeah.
New word. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our score. What is the score, Crystal?
1 to 5.
1 to 5. Yes. And then our favorite scene. Crystal, start us off.
Okay. I'm going to give this a 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's pretty good. Is that not high enough? Does that not feel high enough? It feels
thought
high
it
enough
might
for
be
me.
a little higher. Yeah. But
Well,
that's cool.
I mean, it takes a lot for me to give something a 4. You know, I'm a little bit harder than y'all on that. And definitely my favorite scene. It made me laugh for some reason. It's when the little girl and the daughter are in the car, and the daughter goes to scream, and the little girl covers her mouth.
I love that too.
I just started laughing. I was like, finally, there's like some action here because the daughter's just like we talked about, like deadpan. And the little girl, I didn't know if she was actually really that afraid of it or what. And then, so that was my favorite scene. There you go.
I did enjoy that scene as well. Christopher G. Mohr, your score, your favorite scene. Light us up.
I'll give it.
Oh.
I give it a 2.25.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think it's worth seeing for the practical stuff and maybe a few shots here and there. As for favorite scene,
there's got to be some.
I like the sort of the pardon of John Woo, the face off when the monster and you see its tongue go like this.
Oh yeah,
when it's head to head. I'm not sure if I'm thinking
I
maybe
did like the
tongue
face
might
to
have been
face
CGI, but I think when he's face to face with that monster. And
the cop character,
the cop, and he does the little tongue, and the monster does a tongue thing or whatever. But yeah, I think that was like, again, that those moments can't make up for the rest of it, but they're very admirable in that they pulled off this huge practical thing in a movie. So I love that kind of if there was more stuff like that, I think it would have been much more enjoyable.
Yeah, that you just stole my favorite scene. I love this shot when he squared off face to face, and that's when they find out that it's not.
That's what I have here too.
Not there to eat people; it's there to do something else, and we have to get 2 dorky scientists to tell us what it is.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But they
don't mind me.
They had to live up to their potential. All right, so I enjoyed this on a kind of a cheese level. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a kaiju film, so kaiju films for me kind of come with
a cheese
expectation. I don't disagree with anything Christopher said about the editing and everything, because it really threw me off sometimes because it felt like there was a couple different movies kind of sewn together.
Yeah.
But I was thankful that the little girl ties them all together. I was like, you better do that. And they did. Because it was like, why am I watching 3 different movies at once? And it was weird. And then you threw in those other characters for this one other little tangent. So it's a different, it is what it is. But this could be on, Mystery Science Theater. It would be a candidate for that. They could do some fun stuff with it.
Oh, for sure. Easily.
But there's a lot of movies on that I like. So I like this one too. So I'm rattling on. I should be giving a score. My score is, I'm going to go 3.5. I'll go 3.5.
Oh, good.
Hey.
Yeah. So
it's solid. If you're a kaiju fan, I think you'll enjoy this, unless you have film experience. Then be careful. It might wear a little thin on you. But so my favorite scene, you took both of them. So now I got to fish for a third one. And what do I want to do? There's some scenes that happened that I kind of like, what the hell? Why did the guy run down the pier and jump in the water? That was the stupidest thing. But I don't. That's not
he doesn't care about his daughter.
I know, it was weird.
Yeah.
Gosh, what do I want to choose?
When he first comes out of the water.
Who, the monster?
The big monster.
I like the big monster when he's like when he approaches the city and you get that shot of him down the street and and it's scaled right and he's going through the electrical lines and stuff. Very very kaiju, very cool. Godzilla. So I like the creature when we get to see him scaled and full, right? And I'm not sure I'm not sure how they did that. I don't know if it was CGI or not, but whatever they did, they did a really good job with that. So when the creature shows up, and they gotta say, no, he was the guy. It's like, get him. Oh my gosh.
Except that one moment where he comes over the mountain and looks over the city, and it looks like I'm watching a PS4 cutscene.
Nah. There you go.
Really bad.
There you go.
That's funny and true.
It would have been fun to have a little more gore. I mean, there was people getting chopped and thrown around.
Oh,
gore.
The blood was bad. When the girl got her cut and she was in the hospital, it's like the lightest red stuff, and then they wipe it all away. There's no
even like when they're going through and all the people's feet just have these.
I didn't
cuts.
care.
I was like, these monsters aren't doing anything.
I know.
And like I think before we recorded, there's the one scene with the dead bodies, and the person's like, yeah. These bodies are unrecognizable, and they just have like little cuts on their face. Like, what is
that? That's so funny.
And they spent such a long time too. It was like they spent such a long time cleaning that girl's face up, and putting the thing.
And they literally just cleaned the whole thing off. I was like, no, like, maybe you should leave the cut there. Woof. That's hilarious.
A lot more gore. So I think that for some reason they shied away.
I think
it's probably money.
Yeah, that and
probably
audience, probably
younger people can watch it. I guess.
Oh, that too. Yeah, fair enough. Too.
All right. Well, we are incredibly excited to hear what you think of this. So please leave some comments down below. I can't wait to hear what people. I want to hear what you guys think. Please leave some comments. Crystal, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun. More kaiju films, please.
Yeah, I'm down.
Or
maybe not Christopher,
movies. Or giant shark movies. We either get giant shark or
I like that too. See, I like some cheesy stuff that Christopher doesn't like, so that kind of explains things.
I like some cheesy stuff, so
that's true.
You like really good cheesy stuff.
I just don't like it when it's Munster cheese.
There you go.
Hey, Munster cheese.
We saw some Munster cheese earlier last year, but he wants.
That's what I thought he meant. Yeah.
Christopher wants fondue.
Ooh, that sounds good.
All right. Let's say goodnight.
On that note.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.